You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. Join Steve and his guests every week as he staggers from Georgia to Maine.
Hi guys, and thanks for coming back again to Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the ultimate midlife crisis. And today we're going through day 4, 5 and 6 to bring you up to date, because this is Sunday afternoon, and hopefully Ryan tells me he can get this episode out on Sunday afternoon as well, or Sunday evening rather. It's been quite a week, and I've done more miles than I intended to do, but you know what? That's okay. I've ended up in a position where I'm quite comfortable where I am. I'm sitting here nice and warm, dictating this to you, or at least recording this to you. And it finishes day 6 with a terrific day. So I look forward to that. And let's get on now with day 4, which is Such Is to Neil Gap. This is a recording of day 4, Such Is to Neil Gap. I forgot to tell you, actually, last night when I was still at Such Is, Diana sent me a package, and in it was a thing called the Scrubber, which is a washing machine in its own right. It's a big green fold-over bag. You put your dirty washing in, you put water in, you put soap in, you let air out, and you just basically scrub it around. There's got these internal sort of pimples, and hopefully it's meant to make a good wash. Now, I only did that because I knew I had to dry everything afterwards, and I remember from when I went to Such As the previous time, there was in fact a laundry downstairs, but I was saving my money on the laundry, and I was just going to use the dry cleaner. And having washed everything, they didn't have a not dry cleaner, what do you call it, tumble dryer. They didn't have a tumble dryer. So everything was soaked. Absolutely dreadful. And yet another thing, another black mark as far as I'm concerned against the places Such As. Anyway, I hung stuff up on various lines in the room, and eventually about 3 o'clock in the morning, when things really weren't drying, I bought some of the stuff inside my bed and try to dry them on my body. Pretty revolting. Anyway, we got away. Same bloke who took us the day before took us again back to Unicoi Gap, and first things first, straight up the mountain to Big Cedar Mountain. And the rain was falling fairly gently, I guess, but it was definitely threatening more. We really weren't let down. Approaching Blood Mountain is a series of ups and downs, steadily pushing up from less than 3,000 feet to 4,500 feet. And it is eventually the highest point in Georgia. That actually made it not too bad a climb, actually. I mean, it was raining on and off, but I really was enjoying the hike. You know, I was getting very strenuously exerted, and then you get a bit of a calm down, you have a flat and a bit of a down again, but you're always going up and up and up. But the rain near the top really kicked up a gear, and I got to the top of the mountain in an absolute deluge. There are a couple of people in there, but I didn't really want to hang around. It's pretty messy in there anyway. It's just an old shelter. I think it's the oldest shelter, I believe, on the AT. I just poked around for a couple of minutes, you know. But I thought I might as well head down, because I know what it was like going down. I've been dreading the climb down, as I remember there were lots of rocks, for at least half a mile, and I wasn't disappointed. And of course, with the rain really thrashing down, there were now rivers flowing down the mountain, and this is one of my worst fears: water on rocks as I'm walking down them. That really, I thought I was going to go over all the time, but my feet, my boots rather, were really solid, and really sort of coped with that really well. And so in the end, it didn't work out at all bad. I was a bit nervous about it, but I made sure I kept going down very gently and very carefully, putting where I was going to put my feet. Though actually, I nearly missed one of the turnos, one of the painted blazes. I'm sure that most of you already know this, but we have to follow white painted blazes on trees, and where there are no trees, on rocks. And one rock area took a sudden left turn, and I very nearly missed it. One guy actually told me later at the shelter, that at the hostel rather, that he went a couple of 100 yards off the trail and had to come back up to find the trail again. Even when we were off the rocks, the path was really quite tricky with a lot of rock stairs to negotiate. This is actually a day hiking mountain, so probably to make it easier, I guess, these rock stairs for some people to get up it, but it's really difficult coming down it with rain really pouring down by now. I eventually made it to Neil Gap or Neil's Gap. There seems to be some sort of controversy over what it is, Neil or Neil's. And I stayed at the hostel before, and I intended to stay at the cabins this time, but the cabins were full. When I was actually in the store, they actually recognised me, which is kind of nice. Mighty Blue. One of the guys listens to the podcast, and the other one and him had both read the book, so that's kind of nice. In fact, last time I was here, I did give it a bad review, and I gave it a bad review in the book. But I told them it was terrible. But then when I went down into it, I was kind of nervous about what it was going to be like. But it was really, really cosy. I really kind of enjoyed it, actually. Now, of course, hiker sweat predominates, but I'm now warm and dry, having dried my wet, sweaty clothes out on a portable heater. I've just actually walked through the place and tried to shoot a video of people with all their clothes hanging up, and that. It's going to be a real mess. And the place is absolutely full, but everyone's getting on real well. A lot of us ordered a pizza in the shop at Mountain Crossing, so I'm now slumped in a beanbag, or was slumped in a beanbag. I'm actually outside recording. I was full of 1,500 calories worth of pizza. Yes, 5 servings at 300 calories a serving. Life does not suck. Now, we did have a visit from the Georgia Appalachian Trail Club. A guy was talking about Leave No Trace. He had a couple of his associates with him talking about Leave No Trace, a really important thing on the Appalachian Trail. And they were welcome and to teach hikers who hadn't done this before to really think about leaving no trace when they're on the mountain. So that's it for day 4. I really enjoyed it. I feel I'm getting the rhythm of the hike. I haven't got my legs yet, obviously, because I'm still pausing every 20 odd yards to gasp for breath. But I'm getting there, and I feel I'm getting some sort of rhythm going there. So I'm going to head back in now, and this could be a really noisy night, but I'm sure there are a lot of snorers. Still, I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye. Okay, this is day 5. Neil Gap to Low Gap Shelter. Have you ever been in the forest? If you haven't been in the forest, you wouldn't believe how pitch black it can become. I'm at Low Gap Shelter right now. It's 7:32 at night. I've got my headlamp on, and there is just darkness, complete and utter darkness all around me. And I just wanted to get away from the camp a little bit because I didn't want to disturb people by recording this. But yes, it's incredibly dark. It's great though. Absolutely beautiful. It's quite fresh now, quite cool now. It's been a great day. I had an absolute disaster this morning. I got a brand new stove when I came out here, a pocket rocket, which was great. It's, works really well. It's just unfortunately it's the user in this particular case. When I bought it, there's the pocket rocket which you screw onto the gas. Then you put the metal thing with water in, you cook it with water, and attached to the metal thing with water is a plastic cup. And I said to myself, when I got it, I thought, oh, there's a very good chance I'm going to put that cooking utensil on the burning stove with the plastic cup. Well, day 5, I did it and burned a hole in the plastic cup, completely ruined the pocket rocket. So the day started with me buying another pocket rocket and a new cup. So that was a great start. Everything got so much better from there, though. The climb out of Neil Gap was our longest of the day, but I didn't find it too bad, actually. It was very cloudy to start with, but that all soon burned off, and we had another glorious day. We've been really so lucky. And I've been hiking around, 2 people often hiking together, a guy called First Grader, who's actually my age, 66, and a woman called Pringles. who I'm actually going to speak to tomorrow, actually. Lovely people. Really enjoyed spending some time with them. And basically, I saw them most of the day, actually. But as I say, the cloud soon burned off, and I was chatting with first grader, and I wanted you to hear something he said. Done. Right, I'm here with a guy called First Grader, because I believe he was a first grade teacher. He's the same age as me, same vintage. We're both 66 years old. And you've been wanting to do this for some time, haven't you? Tell us about it.
Yeah, actually, my dad and my brother and I hiked from Springer Mountain to Blood Mountain in 1967.
Nice.
And
what was it like then?
You know what? I wish I could remember. My dad, I know, took pictures, but he's not sure where they are, and he never did find them for me
really?
to look at it. So none of it looked familiar. But I've been thinking about this someplace in my mind for over 50 years.
So why did it take this 2019 to pull the trigger? Retirement?
Well, I retired quite a while ago. I got real involved in a lot of conservation groups as a volunteer and kind of started moving on from that. Started thinking about, well, my wife and I started hiking a lot, and I started thinking about doing this. And my wife, I think quite gently but truthfully, pointed out that my window of opportunity wasn't opening any wider. So it's either get on the trail or realize it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, she didn't want to come herself.
No. The last hike we did together was about 100 miles, fairly rough terrain, pretty isolated location up on Isle Royale National Park in Lake Superior. And she'd had enough for a while.
So how does it feel compared to what you remember in 1967? Is there a different feel to it?
I think we were in the summertime, so it was a lot greener.
Mm-hmm.
Where we are right now.
We're in the middle of the forest with loads of leaves, but none on the trees.
Yeah, exactly. I remember it being hard, but I was 14. So what did I know?
Exactly. How does it feel being a 66-year-old then?
It's tough,
challenging.
But I've done enough backpacking in the last few years, especially, that I'm confident that I have the capability to do it, barring injury or illness.
Cool.
My head's got me heading north for a long time. So.
Well, well done. Hope you make it.
Yeah.
Cheers then.
Yeah, there.
Thanks. So he's been waiting for over 50 years to do this. I think that's awesome. I really do think that's fantastic. There were several breaks in the trees today, and there were some great places to just sit on the rocks and so on and just look at the unfolding scenery all around us. I sat with a young man called Aaron. He's working at Atlanta for a couple of weeks, and he thought he'd take just 2 weeks, 2 days rather, in the weekend, to come and hike the mountains. And we were just sitting there, just chatting, looking out over the horizon. It just looked absolutely glorious, all these mountains stretching away in the distance. And we were then joined by Pringles and First Grader, and then by another couple from south of Atlanta called Celeste and Dave. It's been a glorious hike all day long, because there were several of these breaks in the trees, and we could get out and just see just everything around us. And coming down into Unicoi Gap, it reminded me of when I went in 2014 and I found some trail magic there. And funnily enough, I've got a funny feeling that the couple that we met down providing trail magic again this year, Bobby and Mitzi, who are a lovely couple, I think they may very well have been the people who gave me trail magic 5 years ago. They started in 2014, and they quite very religious people, and just they feel it's their not their duty, but something they want to do. They want to help hikers, which is quite extraordinary. I had a coffee, I had a banana, I had chicken soup, which was glorious, by the way, and water. They topped me up with water, and I really needed that water. It's funny how the trail does it. I've said this before many a time. When you need something, the trail just provides, and I needed water more than any of those things, more than coffee, more than the chicken soup, and more than the banana. And they had water, so I topped up my water. And we were all chatting, a group of us there, and Bobby said, "Would you mind if I blessed you?" You know, I've said before, I'm not a religious guy, but the thought of somebody thinking enough of you to bless you is a wonderful thing. I used to have my father-in-law used to bless us all at Thanksgiving, and even though he spoke in Spanish, I couldn't understand a word he was saying. It was just a wonderful thing that this man thought so much of us. He wanted to bless us and bless the whole, the food and all those sort of things. And I miss that. The climb out of Unicoi Gap was really intense, very, very steep switchbacks, and all of them just seemed to be turning up as opposed to turning back from side to side. There were really, really steep climbs every time. I found that really tough, and I had lots of butt breaks, as Pringles calls them. I mean, just stopping. I'd stop every, 20 yards, something like that. Because I'm still struggling with the uphills. I'm pretty good on the downhills now, and my knees are not playing up. My big toe, my toenail is blue, unfortunately, now, so that's going to be a problem soon. And my little toe is giving me a bit of jip, but apart from that, I feel pretty good. My back issue from the other day is cleared up, so that's good as well. We passed a bunch of day hikers coming up, and it's really nice to see the local people really using the mountains around here and coming up and enjoying their days, on the mountains along with us through hikers. And this guy came up, and I was just behind first grader at the time, and he went by, said hello. Then the guy walked up, he said, "I know who you are. You're Mighty Blue." I said, "How'd you know?" He said, "It's your accent. I could recognise it straight away." He said, "Oh, it's fantastic." He was so pleased to see me, which was really, really nice. He said that his wife says, "Are you listening to that man again?" "Well, Mrs." And his name was Lewis, by the way. "Well, Mrs. or Mrs. Lewis, yes, he is listening to me, and I'm so glad I had the chance to meet him." From then, we're still heading for Low Gap Shelter. The weather was still beautiful. It was warm. Remember, this is early March. I mean, just in one shirt. I'm not going puffy or no underlay or anything like that, just a shirt. It's absolutely glorious out there. And the stretch of ridge after Hogpen's Gap was absolutely spectacular. There were some ups and there were some downs, but generally we're walking along this ridge, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. And the sun stayed with us all the way into Low Gap Shelter, where I met a bunch of other people I've already sort of seen on this trip. And we just sat around eating together. And that was just a nice thing to do. And it was the end of a really, truly wonderful day. Day 6, Low Gap Shelter to Unicoi Gap. That wasn't actually the plan. The plan was Low Gap Shelter to Blue Mountain Shelter. But I'll tell you how that didn't work out. We all got up, all had breakfast together in the camp. A bunch of them got away early because we were expecting rain from about 11:30. And I think the rain was forecast to be really, really heavy. So people wanted to get to Blue Mountain Shelter in a reasonable time. But it looks like such a beautiful day to me. I thought, well, why rush? So, as always, I wasn't last out of camp. I was second from last out of camp. But we all sat around having breakfast, which was really nice, as usual. People are so open when they're hiking, and they're friendly straight away. There was a really glorious, wide path uphill to start, and I really got into my stride. I wasn't stopping every 20-odd yards. It must have been an old forest road because it was wide enough for cars to come down, I'm sure, in the past. But now, obviously not. It's that little bit is overgrown and it's just a wide path, but it sweeps round the mountains. It's beautiful. It just goes up and up and up and up. And I really got into my stride. But unfortunately, I kept stopping because I wanted to take photos. I took a few videos. I'm actually going to upload those videos to YouTube later, actually. I called my son Rob for his 38th birthday. I've got a 38-year-old son. Whoever would have thought it? Unfortunately, I had to leave a message because he is in the UK and, he didn't answer the phone. So I left a message, but happy birthday, son, because I know he listens. So I kept stopping for these pictures and videos, and I just did not believe it would rain. I didn't believe the evidence of my weather app that said it would rain. And suddenly the skies darkened, as they always do. Now, I'm sure this is called Blue Mountain and Blue Mountain Shelter because of these bluish rocks on the way up. But they are so difficult to, because they're right in the middle of the trail. They're on the trail, so you're literally going. You almost got practice for Pennsylvania. Some of this rock hopping virtually, and being the fact that it was also starting to get wet or damp anyway. It was slightly nerve-wracking. I was a bit nervous about it. By the time I got to the shelter, that was when it started raining. So I thought maybe I'm lucky. Unfortunately, the shelter was full. They did say they'd scooch up and let us in, but I knew there were other people coming who really probably needed to stay in there more than I did. So I had another look at the weather forecast on my phone because I was at the top of the mountain, and this often happens, I actually had pretty good service. So I looked up and it looked to me like there was a gap in the forecast and that I might be able to get down to Unicoi Gap in time. Was I wrong? The first half mile continued up Blue Mountain and the rain started pounding. And then we heard the thunder. I was by myself and I'd left people at the my air conditioning's just gone, so I apologise for that. I let people stay. I left people behind. I went by myself, and I felt a little bit nervous because of the thunder. And I thought, well, it's a long way away. The next second, clap, right above my head. Oh dear! So I was a bit nervous by then. So there was me walking to the top of a mountain, metal poles in hand, and the rain pouring down. Not my finest moment, I've got to tell you. But I got to the top of the mountain unharmed, and I didn't hear any more thunder at all, which was great. Unfortunately, I did hear plenty of more rain. I had my, I started going down, and going on those rocks does, as I say, concern me. But the track was getting muddier and muddier, and it's quite a narrow path, quite a steep escarpment as well. So we were not only heading down the path, but the drop off to the left was very, very steep as well. But you know what? I got to the bottom. I didn't die. It was great. So I didn't think I'd have service because this Unicoi Gap is really, really, really relatively low compared to the mountain, obviously. So I didn't even check. I wanted to find somewhere decent in Hiawassee and started to hitch. Now, it must have been an impressive sight because not one person on this Sunday, this religious Sunday, stopped and picked me up. So there I am, going for about 10, 15 minutes, hopefully, and with my demented idiot grin, sticking my thumb out, and hopefully people were going to stop for me. It didn't happen at all. And of course, I started getting colder and colder and colder. And there's a tiny shelter, a very tiny like information thing where you can just get out of the rain. So I just thought, well, I've just got to get warmer. So I went underneath that, took my pack off and stripped off my waterproof jacket and shirt, both of which were completely and utterly drenched. The designation waterproof, as I've said before, is a complete lie. It is absolute nonsense. Anyway, I put on my puffy jacket and immediately felt warmer. That is my 100% best buy so far. My puffy by Enlightened Equipment, the Torrid Apex, recommended by Darwin on the trail, so thanks Darwin for that. So I'm standing there, and I thought, well, I'll just check my phone. And of course, I had LTE service, which was excellent. So because I was warming up, I started to relax. And I looked on Google Maps for hotels near me. And I found the Holiday Inn Express and Suites in Helen for a room for $79, which is a complete and utter bargain. I chatted with, I really apologise, I think it was Dale, a guy who was there to help hikers. He's there with his wife. He comes up to the Gap and they offer food and warmth. He actually had a heater in the back of his van. We were chatting away, and his wife Nancy was there as well. And he offered me, after about 10-15 minutes, a lift down the mountain to Helen. So I got in the back of this kind of converted station wagon with the heater running. It was warm, let me tell you. And I warmed up, so I felt great, obviously, again. I loaded up my pack, my dripping shirt, my waterproofs, and me. So I'm sitting in there. Dale's locked me in there, and I'm thinking to myself, no one knows I'm here. I'm locked to the back of this van. And of course, it was a stupid thing to think. It's quite a way down the mountain. And Dale took me right there and parked under the entrance, so it didn't even get soaked anymore, which was great. So then I soaked in a jacuzzi. My glorious king bed actually has clean sheets, and I'm heading out for a burger and a beer later. I put it on Facebook, and I know it's late notice for everybody, but if anybody wants to come and join me at the Catch-22 from about 6:45 or 7 o'clock in Helen tonight, I will be there. Life does not suck. And I'll see you next time.